Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Tech with Alan Spaja. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to handle JSON responses in a Laravel application. Let's get started. Yeah, basically when building APIs and modern web application using Laravel, handling JSON responses efficiently is quite important. Now, there are various methods to return JSON responses, ensuring that the responses is consistent for either the front end or a mobile application that is consuming these APIs. It could either be returning a string or a collection of items, which you could also refer to an object, or probably just an error code to say something didn't work or something failed. Yeah, so in Laravel, to handle JSON responses, you have what we call the response JSON helper method. So if you come to API here, I have a method called response JSON. So this is what Laravel uses to handle response in JSON format, because ideally we are expected to return a response in JSON format when dealing with APIs. So this data you are seeing here could be an array of items, and then or probably a collection or whatever it is. It could be a paginated data, in fact. So you want to return this particular data in JSON format, so you could use the response JSON helper in Laravel. So it actually takes in an array. Okay, so and this array you can specify a number of things that you want to return. So for example, message, and then data, then the response code. So when you head over to the browser here, you refresh, you see that it returns data retrieved successfully, name, Tech with Alan Spaja. You could see that now. So if we have, maybe say for example, I just say, can say channel here, and I say online, and then you save. When you come here and refresh, you see it says name channel. So this is in JSON format, right? So yeah, so let's talk about HTTP status code. So you see here I have response HTTP. Okay, so this is a facade. This response facade have different kinds of response code. So if you click here, you see there is HTTP continue, HTTP switching protocols, HTTP processing, HTTP early int, and then created, accepted, okay, whatever you want to use. 200, 201, it's better to use some of these names that you have here. So, okay, yeah, it's quite important to pay attention to this, okay, because there are quite a couple of debates on the internet about, oh, why should you return message? Why should you return data? Yeah, but in my own opinion, there is no universally standardized format for structuring JSON response payload. However, now for me, I prefer to use status code to indicate the type of response from the API rather than including success field in the payload. Now you see some developers have something like, they will say success, or they'll say success, they'll say true, some will say false or something. So I really do not I don't think this is quite necessary, but if you feel this structure works for you and your front-end developers fine, you could actually make use of that. This is another way to return response. So if there is no data, you can just return an empty array, or you can actually just ignore returning the data and just return message that says that uses the status code HTTP path request, and then you just refresh here. You see it says something went wrong. Okay, so this could serve. In some cases, you can use both message and data. So it's quite important to just stick to what works for you. So when returning JSON response, you want to indicate what kind of header. So there are different content type headers, but most common is the application JSON when building API. So if you uncomment this now, and then you return here, you save. So it says data retrieved successfully. So behind the scene, there is this content type that is being enforced, so that the front end, whether mobile or web, is able to check what kind of content type are you sending, if it is a media file or probably a JSON. So you could actually use this to enforce this, so that they can be sure that you are sending a JSON response. So even if you don't enforce it, Laravel by default, once you use this response JSON helper, it actually enforces this content type to be JSON format. Yeah. Okay. So next, you could use the JSON facade. So if you come over here, you just comment, like what I've been showing you since is just the helper method. So you could use the JSON facade. So this is actually renamed here because of the use of another response. This response contain all of those status code, while this one contains, this is a facade for response, where you can access the response facade directly. So it does pretty much the same thing. When I save this and I head over here to refresh, you see it returns the same thing. So I could also use the JSON method of the response facade to also return the response in JSON format. In Laravel, there's what we call resource. It can be used to structure and transform the data for any response you want to give in JSON format when building APIs. Okay, yeah. So basically, when you want to do that, you just go to the terminal, and then in the terminal you just do PHP artisan make resource post resource, for example. So there are quite a couple of posts here. So when you want to return this now, like preferably I prefer to use resource actually, because it formats everything to JSON. So we say post with user latest get and all of that. So whichever way you have. So we were trying to format this response now. So when you come to post resource, you could see just you lead, title, content, and created at. So this is actually formatted to response. So it says transform the resource into an array. Now when you transform it to an array, the response comes here. This is returned as a JSON response. So when I save this and head over here to refresh, you see that this comes as a JSON response. You could see that now this is already like an object because you are using the resource. Now this resource also can be used for a single post. So if you come down here and then you just uncomment this, for example, let's say we want to pick the first post here. So this is quite better and quite easier. That's why Laravel has some sort of features that are quite interesting. So when I save that now and head over here to refresh, you could see that it picks the particular article, the particular post with this particular UDS ZDQ. You could see that now this same ulead here. So it picks the post and return it. So we don't have to always repeat picking ulead, title, and all of that, and then format it to JSON response. So with this post resource, you can handle both for collection and for a single item. So this is why this is pretty much easy. If you intend to change this to something else, you don't have to come over here to say change this here, change this here, change this here, and then anywhere where you return to a post, you will change all of what is happening. You can just come straight to this post resource to add more or to rename any of these keys, which identifies what kind of value is to be accessed. And then probably you want to take down some, or you want to add more or something. You want to pick the user that owns this particular post, and then that's pretty much it. Works fine like that way. So if you come to post, for example, let me show you. So there is something that says there is a user. Okay, so when I come back here and I say maybe we intend to retrieve the user, I could just do like this here, and then I say this user, right? And I save. Come over here to refresh. You see, you could see it assess the user, and then you can actually just do something like this and say, okay, here you want to do the name. Okay, so you do something like this, and then you say name, and then let me just do something else here. So probably I just want to return so let's just return the ID. No, not ID. Let's just return email. So I'll come over here and say email. Say email here. Yeah. So save and refresh. You see, this is returning the user, the name, and then the email. So the same thing applies to when I come back here and I just say, let me comment this out and then return this larger collection. You see that if you're using a response JSON helper here, you would have to format the array directly there, and then you always change this thing. But because I'm using the resource in Laravel, when I come back to return a collection of posts, it will serve the same purpose. So you could see when you refresh here, you come down, you see that for each post, it is retrieving the user and the username and then the email for each of them. So you could see username and email for each of them. In recent versions of Laravel from Laravel 11, while developing APIs, you can register JSON responses globally for handling exception in the bootstrap app.php file. So I'm going to close this, just close this, come to app.php file. So this file is situated under bootstrap/app.php, right? Now you see this exception handling I did here for not found HTTP exception. If this is not being handled here to return a JSON response, it's going to return a response in HTML format. So let me just comment this and then come back here, refresh. You see it says 404 not found. So if you are building a front-end application, either web or mobile app, and then it returns this kind of response, it actually breaks the application, or you just realize that there's just some funny responses appearing on the front end. So it's important to handle all of those responses here and then when you come over here to refresh, you see that it returns it in JSON format. So I could actually comment this. So when you save this and you come back here, you refresh, it's going to show you full details. Okay, it says no query result for model app models post. So actually, the previous video I explained that the reason why I actually prefer handling this response properly is because this is way technical for a user. You know, they don't have business with understanding what app model post means. So you just need to catch that now and then format it properly. Okay, so I just do refresh and then it says record not found. So pretty much what it is, yeah. So you want to stick along on my YouTube channel because the next video I'm going to be creating, I will explain how to enforce JSON requests and how to enforce JSON response when building APIs using Laravel. But yeah, that being said, let me know what you think about how to handle JSON responses in a Laravel application when building APIs in the comment section. Don't forget to like and share the video. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, kindly click the subscribe button. Until next time, bye.